Hello you guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to do the part 2 of my plant organization, or reorganization rather. If you haven't seen the part 1, feel free and click it. I posted it, I think about maybe 2 weeks or so ago, where I redid the entire background that I usually film in front of. This time we're going to film all the plants that are right across from my typical filming area. So if you want to see what it looks like, we're going to time lapse the entire thing. But without further ado, let's get into it. This is my current plant setup. As you can tell, I have a lot of really beautiful plants, but my current display of them mainly just looks more like a hot mess than anything else. Everything is sort of jumbled up one over the other, and it takes up a lot more floor space than it probably should. When I first started adding plants to my house, I didn't anticipate quite how many I would end up having, because I was mainly more of an outside plant girl, mainly even fruiting plants. That was kind of my jam. And so because of that, before any of these organizational videos came out, I sort of just picked whatever furniture I had lying around to display my plants. In my previous organizational video, I used a 3-tier shelf from the same brand that I'm using the furniture or the shelving from in this video. The pieces are incredibly affordable, they're super lightweight, and they're very simple to assemble, very fast to assemble even, which is very wonderful considering that I'm in the 3rd trimester of pregnancy and I'm not looking for too many extra challenges at this point in my life. For the purposes of this plant section, I wanted something that was a bit higher than the 3-tiered shelf, as well as something to go in front of that tall window that didn't block too much of the natural light that comes in there, because a lot of these plants are very dependent on that natural light coming through. Because of that, I chose a 4-tiered shelf to put against the wall, as well as 2-tiered shelves to put in front of that window. But before we do that, I'm going to wipe down the shelving units and remove every single plant and piece of furniture that was previously occupying that space to really give it a nice deep cleanse. I very regularly check my plants just to make sure pest issues are prevented, as well as to make sure that my home in general is clean. However, when you actually physically remove everything from a given space, it's amazing how much debris shows up essentially, and it brings rise to a wonderful opportunity to clean everything. This little table cubby that I'm wiping down right now is where I store a lot of my plant supplies. So some extra stakes, some fertilizer, as well as plant vitamins, some rooting hormone, things of that nature. I had a whole bunch of little cubbies because I love to organize things in cubbies, and I thought that I would need much more than I actually did, but I found out that I mainly was storing a lot of unnecessary things and only ended up needing one little tiny cube. During this process, I also cleaned off my little tabletop that you see here and found that those clear plastic trays that I was using ended up warping, very sadly, one of my favorite furniture pieces. I highly suggest that if you plan to display plants on furniture that you truly care about, that you use either a ceramic plate or thicker plastic trays. I currently switched almost every single plant that I own to these really thick black plastic trays, and I could not be happier with them. They are tremendous. And I suggest that simply because the clear plastic trays that I had, for example, weren't broken, but still managed to ruin the furniture that they were atop of. But now it is time to bring back the plants. I really wanted to consider every plant's needs in terms of lighting. Some plants, like the string of hearts, for example, need to have direct access to the sunlight, whereas something like a snake plant can be a bit further back. Another thing I had to consider was the height of each plant. I didn't want to make any plants feel too cramped, and I also didn't want to place anything too tall in front of a window, which would prevent light from coming in. I plan to record an updated houseplant tour, but before I do that, there are still a couple things that I would like to tweak about this display, but overall, this is it, and I think it looks tremendously better than how it did before. It's certainly a lot cleaner, and you can actually see the variety of beautiful plants that I have, instead of just having them essentially one on top of the other. For only adding a couple inexpensive pieces of furniture, I think this turned out pretty darn good, and I'm sure my plants are very happy about it as well. If you have any organizational tips or display tips, I would love to hear your suggestions in the comment section down below. Alrighty, we are done, and I am officially pooped, hence the lounging in the chair instead of standing with the beautiful trees in the background. Overall, I'm pretty dang happy with how it turned out. Hopefully you are too. If you loved this video, make sure to please give it a thumbs up, and make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future videos that I make. Bye!